Meanwhile, in Afghanistan, violence continues after the Taliban retook power some time ago, and we wanted to catch you up on the current state of things there. There's a report by the UN, which has put out updated information on civilian casualties. This is basically catching us up from mid-August 2021 when the takeover by the Taliban happened until the end of May. There were over 3,700 civilian casualties, including 1,095 people killed in violence in the country. That is actually less than there were in 2020, but still a lot of violence. And 3/4 of the attacks since the Taliban seized power were with improvised explosive devices in quote populated areas, including places of worship, schools, and markets. 92 women, 287 children have been among those killed, and at least 95 people were killed in attacks just on schools, educational facilities, and other places that targeted the predominantly Shiite Hazara community. And so the Taliban is putting out a statement as a result of this, saying that they are working on security, particularly securing places of worship and holy shrines. I would say securing the schools that are being targeted almost constantly also would be a good idea. And by the way, in addition to the violence, remember, there are a lot of concerns about the state of a variety of different rights following the Taliban regaining control. The supreme leader of the Taliban released a message claiming that his government has taken the necessary steps for the betterment of women's lives in Afghanistan. Says they're gonna work to make them more comfortable. However, as of right now, women and girls are banned from entering amusement parks, public baths, gyms, sports clubs. Women have been banned from working in NGO offices. They're excluded from public office, from the judiciary. They're required to adhere to a strict dress code and are not permitted to travel more than 75 kilometers, basically without a family representative with them, compelled to stay at home, effectively hidden in private. All of this was predicted. They denied it, when the takeover was happening, but that's effectively the situation that we have. Yas, what do you think?
Yeah, it's really sad that we're covering this story today, especially today is a Muslim holiday for everyone who is celebrating Eid Mubarak today and tomorrow. But it's like you said, it's all incredibly predictable. It was all very predictable. We knew that this was going to happen, despite what the Taliban said they were going to do, despite whatever, overtures of good grace that they made at the beginning of their takeover of the Afghan state. And I think whenever we talk about stories like this, we can look at all the deaths and we can look at all the data. It's hard to really get into the minds of the people who are living through that situation, especially for the young women, especially the ones who grew up while the US was there. That's about 20 years or however long that was, where they were able to have dreams and they were able to kind of plan for their futures, and all of those plans were kind of shot. And it's really easy to forget that these are real lives that are being destroyed here. And for the foreseeable future, it's not like they have any hope for when this will all be over. They have few options for getting out of a situation like that. So it really is very distressing to think about. I mean, apart from the death, lives are still being destroyed in a different kind of way.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's a combination of both of them being terrorized in a variety of different ways. As you said, predictable, and it's a reminder that societies cannot thrive when they are run by broken men, weak, pathetic men, terrified of women, terrified of anyone who might provide competition to them, who believe and are probably right that they would be incapable of succeeding, competing if everyone is given a chance. And so they're willing to hold back their entire society just so they can maintain a false sense of superiority. And meanwhile, in Sweden, approval has been given to a burning of the Quran protest. There's a protester, Salwan Momika, who said he came to Sweden 5 years ago from Iraq, has Swedish citizenship, says he's an atheist, and says that he wants to do this demonstration of burning the Quran because the book should be banned because of the danger that it causes to democracy, ethics, human values, human rights, and women's rights. It just doesn't work in this time and age. His protest at various points has involved stomping on the Quran, putting strips of bacon in it, lighting pages on fire, slamming it shut, kicking it like a football while waving Swedish flags. He says, this is democracy. It is in danger if they tell us that we can't do this. So look, obviously there are larger conversations to be had about freedom of speech. I will say that it does seem a little bit inconsistent to say that freedom of speech demands that you be allowed to do this protest, but you are also calling for the book to be banned. So that seems a little bit inconsistent. Yaz, what do you think?
Yeah, again, Eid Mubarak to everyone celebrating, we're covering this story. But yeah, it's kind of funny because if you immigrate from a Muslim country and you have maybe a contentious relationship with your religion and with organized religion and what it's done to your people and to your country, that makes sense. So you move away from it. What he's doing now, he's expressing himself. I guess he should be allowed to do that, and that's fine. But you're right, calling for the book to be banned and then calling it, saying that it's a threat to democracy, things like that. I think that's where you have to kind of draw a line and kind of say, look, you have this relationship with this book and with this religion, that's fine, that's your prerogative. But then to call for a book banning, it's just as bad as what's going on here in this country. It's not better because it's a religious text. It's still, book banning is a very slippery slope, and I think it's better to just stay away from that slope in the first place.
Yeah, generally, I think that when you are lighting a book on fire, maybe you're not winning. Maybe that's not the best thing.
You get it. You don't like it. If you don't like it, don't read it. But you can't. You shouldn't be able to. And I think also the thing that is missing from these conversations about book banning is that you can read a book and then not agree with it, right? I think like if you have a book on your bookshelf, people assume that you agree with everything in that book, that you love that book. Not necessarily. I read a lot of stuff that I don't agree with, and I think that's fine and good to do. People should be able to read things and then say, "Oh, didn't like that one." That's freedom.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.